here's why meditation works. This mirror that we're given, I didn't say that, well, I compared it to a rear view mirror. The mind acts as a mirror. This is the most frequently repeated teaching of Gurudev's. The mind acts as a mirror. And what's it reflecting? It's reflecting one thing all the time. It's reflecting you. It's reflecting who you really are. Okay, so stay with me here. Who you really are is God itself, happiness personified, the peace that passeth understanding. That means it can't even be grasped by the mind. It's like all the best stuff. It's exactly what you want. And what everyone wants, by the way. Everyone goes through their whole life motivated by this. You want the stuff you want because you think it's going to make you happy. You want to keep away other stuff because you think it's going to make you unhappy. There's something in us that yearns to express our nature. Somehow we know that we're not meant to be the Rex that me at least, and some of you often are. The problem is that we've forgotten who we are, obviously, right? We don't go around, most of us, we're not like born and we immediately spend our, days in elementary school. We called it junior high. I guess you call that middle school, going around. I'm happiness personified. I'm supreme bliss. I'm joy. Those are all the same thing. They're just words that are transcendent words to tell you, like, I'm not talking about anything that you ordinarily, it's not that your happiness, the opposite of sadness. This is capital H happiness. We don't go around like that. And the reason we don't go around like that is that the way that we get to know who we are is the reflection of ourselves that we experience through the mind. Who we really are is peace and joy, happiness. It's fun. It's total fun. It doesn't seem that way. The world doesn't seem that way, does it? Yeah. If we hadn't forgotten who we were, we wouldn't need the mind to be calm. But because we have forgotten who we are, which is the essence of pretty much all spiritual paths, that we've forgotten who we are. We need to wake up. We need to see a clear reflection, and that'll wake us up. So I'll tell you a famous scriptural story about that, which is about a lion separated from its mother. I mean, this sounds like a Disney film. And as a little lion cub. And this actually happens in nature. It falls in with a flock of sheep, and the sheep take pity on it and raise it. Another good thing about the internet is that you can see these amazing animal videos. I certainly enjoy them. And that sort of thing actually happens with just the strangest combinations. So this lion cub is raised by sheep and grows bigger and bigger and is like a big, lion with a mane and everything. But it thinks it's a sheep because all it ever sees is sheep, and that's the norm. So one day, another lion who wasn't raised by sheep comes hunting for sheep, comes over the top of the ridge, is slowly, stalking in, right direction for the wind so that they won't smell him. And suddenly he goes, oh, I got here too late. There's a brother lion down there. He's going to pick them off. And he watches, and he sees something very strange. This other full-grown lion down there is leaning over and biting off mouthfuls of grass, chewing them. By the way, this is an ancient scriptural teaching, thousands of years old. The story from the Mahabharata, I believe, one of India's great epics. So he sees this strange behavior, and suddenly he forgets his hunger, curiosity takes over, and he goes, what is going on here? Why isn't he, taking his share, having his way with these sheep? So he forgets his hunger and trots down, curiosity, but when he trots down, the sheep, of course, see him, and they start bleating wildly and running this way and running that way, and trying to figure out what they're going to have to do to get away. And lo and behold, the lion who thinks he's a sheep down there is doing the same thing. And not just doing the same thing, he's going, bah, bah, like them. Why not? There are people who have pet cows in some parts of the world who will jump up on them. My wife did anthropology in Indonesia for a couple of years in the jungle, and the cows are like pets. And a full-grown cow would jump up as if it was like a little dog to greet you. So strange things can happen with animals. So in any case, he's running back and forth terrified, just like the sheep. And the lion, of course, the hunting lion, makes a beeline for him because he wants to find out what in the world is going on. And he comes down, and the lion who thinks he's a sheep is bleeding and falls down. And he says, what are you doing? Leonard says, why are you acting like this? Just kill me if you're going to kill me. Don't torture me like this. He says, I'm not here to kill you. You're a lion like me. Why are you making fun of me? If you're going to do it, just do it. So he says, but you're really a lion. Your happiness personified, right? Your peace personified. So he says, no. Finally, the hunting lion drags him to a nearby pool of water. And for the sake of the story, I assume that the lion was never there before and never went to a pool of still water. He drags him to the edge of the water, and he says, look at your reflection. This only matters because he doesn't know who he is, right? If you freeze frame this right now. So he looks down, and he sees the reflection, and he looks at the lion next to him, and he says, what's going on? I look just like him. I am that. In Sanskrit, you would say, aham brahmasmi, I am that, And the way the story often gets told is that the hunting lion says, who is now the guru lion, says, now let's sit together and roar Om. So there's an important thing here. He has amnesia, or none of this matters. If he's not confused about who he is, he doesn't have to see a clear reflection. Okay, you have that lake in you all the time. It's the mind mirror. That's built-in equipment. Your whole experience of who you are is the reflection of your true self, which is infinite consciousness. So happy that they have to invent terms like bliss to try to get across the idea that I'm not talking about anything regular. Satchidananda is another way that's said. Scriptural word, not just a name, by the way. It's a scriptural word, existence, infinite consciousness, bliss. That's what Satchidananda means. That's who you really are, But only because you've forgotten, you need to see a clear reflection. And that's all the rest of this is the lion dragging you over to trying to get you to the point where you will still that lake. How do you still the lake, by the way? Oh. Yeah, I wish we could just talk, but I'll talk for you. How do we still that lake is if the lake has a lot of waves in it, by the way, if the lion had dragged him over there and it was a windy day, a real windy day, you can see this anytime around here by walking around the Lotus Lake. You'll see a crystal clear reflection when it's real still. When it's not, and it's windy, you wouldn't be able to make out anything recognizable. If there was a full moon in the sky and you went down there and the water was moving a little bit, you might see like a blobby circle. So it's kind of happy, kind of infinite peace, but also not exactly right. That's where we are. Most of the time where we are is the water so choppy that you don't even see a blobby reflection of the moon. You just see like flickers and nothing. You would never think of it as a mirror. That's why all this matters. That's actually the only reason it matters. You don't need to do any of this. You already are that. Gurudev says that. The practices don't bring you, he explicitly says this. The practices are not done to bring you peace or joy. All of this retreat, everything, this isn't done to give you peace and joy. If a master tells you that, look for the nearest exit. You know, I will give you peace and joy. I will enlighten you. If they're going to give it to you and enlighten you, then they can take it away. You are this already. So all of this only matters because we've forgotten who we are. Why it's this way, no one can really explain exactly, except that it's like apparently for fun that we're given amnesia. Yeah, it makes for a good game. Yeah, the game is the enlightenment game, the waking up game, the flow state game, the meditation game. So that's why any of this even works. And all the rest is just tips on how to slip into that. You know, the practices aren't done to give you that. They're just done to get things that block the flow, exact words that Gurudev uses describing it. I'm not making this up with new agey words. He says this. Yeah. Yeah. Just removing the things that block the flow. What blocks the flow? I already said. The Lady Saint told you, your wants. Yeah. Why do you want? Because you think, if I get this, then I'm going to be happy. Like I like to say, if I just get the right house, the right spouse, the right mouse, then I'll always be happy. Is there something else that rhymes with that? There must be some other good thing we can extend it to. Yeah. And everyone goes through life chasing these things that if only I get this, then I'll be happy. And you never are. So yogis are looking for some way to have their cake and eat it too. They want to be able to enjoy the house, the spouse, the mouse, all of that. And that's what meditation is all about. So what makes it easier to get into these flow states? I already said part of it, inspiring stuff on the altar. But how do you get to know inspiring stuff that's gonna work for you? Well, be around like-hearted people. And you start to say, there's something to this. I want some of that. Read scriptures, books, watch videos and things and say, that looks really good. Get inspired. Keep the flame fanned and keep it burning well in you. And soon you love the practice. Taste the practice. And more practice, the better.